a muscle that grows up when you lift weight. And we know that every piece of good writer has some techniques to improve and ease the process. What are your writing rituals?
My writing rituals. Well, I like to write on yellow legal pads,
Oh,
and I take notes with index cards that I type up, and I like to work in a library or in a cafe. I don't like to work at home very much. And so sometimes I'll have music on if it's noisy, but other than that, I try to have no rituals. I try to be as portable as I can be.
oh, by the way, for the record, I wrote these questions before reading and then what else? And now I know you dislike the word process. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't dislike it. It sounds too grandiose for what I think of how I work.
Okay. If writing could be classified into a mood, what would your mood be and why?
Into a mood?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like
I don't, yeah, I don't know. What do you
like
think?
angry or happy or adventurous or
Do you
dangerous. I
mean
don't know.
my writing or just writing?
Your writing, like
My
how
writing?
how do you feel like at writing?
I feel alternately um, giggly and sad. That's what I would say.
Okay. Mm, I think that's easy. Name three influences in writing.
Ugh, three. It's hard to choose just three. Um, I will say Vladimir Nabokov, Virginia Woolf, and
Oh,
Prince. That's what I'll say. Hello.
any possibility all the wrong questions to be adapted into a TV show? Please be.
I don't know. Maybe someday. Sometimes people talk about it, but right now in America anyway, it's kind of a conservative time for TV. So I don't think it will happen soon, but maybe someday.
Oh, I'm really sad.
Yeah, it's hard. Television is very expensive. If you write a book and you need a mountain in your book, no one cares. But if you are making a movie or a TV show and you need a mountain, they have to find the mountain or they have to build a mountain. It's a big deal. And so with TV and movies, everyone's very paranoid all the time about money.
Okay. We already have the unauthorized autobiography of Lemon Snicket, but have
Yes,
you ever thought to explore the plot of VFT publishing an exclusive book for that?
I have thought of it. Yeah, I think there'll be more from the universe of Lemony Snicket, but I'm not sure what it will be yet. I'm figuring it out.
I hope it gets out.
Thank you.
On your characters, do you have inspirations to their personalities?
Yes, I do. I eavesdrop a lot. I listen to strangers and I watch them um, in a train station or at the airport or in a restaurant. I have a notebook with me wherever I go, and I write down things that I overhear or that occur to me, so that when I get back to my blank piece of paper, I can think of all of the secret notes I've taken about people.
By the way, I find out that you enjoy talking to children.
I do. I like talking to children. Yeah. Children say some good things. So, um, and then if it's a social gathering or something, they're usually the most interesting people. Not always, but often they are. And so yeah, I like to find children and talk to them.
I comprehend. Adult sucks. Oh, when we access your social media, we see good pieces of poems. When the passion for it has appeared, and tell us one unforgettable poetry book.
Oh gosh, there's so many unforgettable poetry books,
Of
but
course,
I mean, it's kind of an obvious answer, but I think the first time that poetry really moved me was when I was 12 years old and I discovered the poetry of Baudelaire for the first time. I saw a book in a library that was called The Flowers of Evil. I assumed it was a horror story about killer plants, but I took it home and I was fascinated by the poetry. And I mean, I'm just looking around my desk right now. There's probably 8 books of poetry on my desk. So
Les Fleurs du
I'm
Mal.
reading, I'm
Amazing.
reading this. This is a lovely book
Oh,
by Yves
poetry
Bonnefoy called
and
The Anchor's Long Chain. He's
oh,
a French poet. Um, I'm really enjoying these poems by Robert Walser, who is a Swiss writer. Um, yeah, if I had to choose a favorite, which I hope I don't, I
c'est
guess I
le
would choose
poème.
probably Jack Straws by Charles Simic or maybe Blacks by Gwendolyn Brooks. I don't know. But I find poetry relaxing. Anytime I'm tempted to look at my phone, I try to look at poetry instead.
I love. I used to access your Instagram to see the poems, and I post in my on my.
Oh, good, good. I want everybody to know. So thank you for doing that.
During the pandemic, you made and try a lot of cocktail recipes,
Yeah.
as well as drinks are always mentioned by you. Have you always liked to drink, and is that a habit like having a cocktail and reading?
I do like to have a cocktail and read most evenings. And
By the way, you
I,
created an event like cocktail and reading or
mhm,
something.
yeah. We used to have a silent reading party where you would buy a drink and just sit and read in a bookstore after hours. And I think it really started seriously when I was younger and I was living in New York and we had very little money. And so we would invite friends over and we would say, we're going to make this wacky cocktail. You bring this ingredient, you bring this ingredient, you bring this ingredient. And then nobody noticed that all we did was buy ice.
Like all
So it was
mixed.
a way, yeah, it was a way of hanging out and not spending money.
Sure, cool. Okay, it's a little bit hard question. In times of war, like Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Palestine, what can you take away from that? Anything?
Um, I think if you are lucky enough to live someplace where there is not a war, I think to be reminded that there's so much about the world that you do not understand. Um, and I think that so much war seems to be caused from a sense of certainty of saying, we know we're right, we know you are wrong. And sometimes that is true, but I think more often the situation is more complicated than that. And so I think to be reminded of how little we understand the world is something we can take um, when we see terrible things happening.
You are married to the writer and illustrator Lisa Brown, and you both
Yes, I am.
collaborated together on some projects. So how is it like to live with an artist?
I think we understand each other very well because we're both thinking about something all day long that no one else is thinking about, that no one cares about. Um, but I like that she's doing something entirely different, and so we don't feel competitive, and we don't feel territorial. We just both know that we're both thinking about something all day long and working very hard on it, and so we're both a little crazy when we come home at the end of the day.
Not much time ago, you went through a fellowship to research a book. What was that
Mhm.
like?
Oh, it was magical. It was at Oxford University, and every morning I would wake up, I would walk through a beautiful meadow, I would swim in the river, then I
Wow.
would go home, I would, get myself clean and dressed and warm, and then I would walk to a beautiful campus, and I would sit in a library for 3 or 4 hours, taking notes. And then it was time for lunch. Lunch was in a big fancy wooden room with portraits on the walls. And then I would go to a little office and I would type up my notes and think about them. And then it was time for tea and cake. That was very important in Oxford. And then I would go back to the library. I would do a little more work. And then it was time for a little whiskey and a little dinner. And then I would go home and lie on the sofa with my wife and go to bed and wake up in the morning, and the whole thing would start over again. It was a magical, magical time. I was very sad to leave. I was happy to get home, but I was sad to leave.
Oh, it seems a wonderful time.
Yeah, it was exactly what, if you are obsessed with literature as I am, it's exactly what you dream of all the time.
Your new book, and then what else? Sounds like an intimate and deep journey in writing. Can you tell us a little bit what you have done and what are you doing? By the way, thanks for shipping this.
Oh, sure. I'm glad you got it.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you. Um, well, it started out because someone asked me if I would write an introduction to a new translation of Baudelaire. And of course, I was very excited and I said yes. And I started writing about experiencing him when I was really young and about the kind of magical space that you have when you're young and you're in love with a book, that you have this kind of blurry story in your head all the time in which you are participating in it, and just about that kind of magical space. And then I realized that I wanted to write more about that I wanted to write more about different books and about reading and writing, and about different times in my life when that space was really helpful for me and really inspiring for me. So I had to call the publisher and say, I know I said I was just going to write an introduction to Baudelaire, but I would like to write a whole book if that's okay. And they said, yes, but you also you have to write the introduction to Baudelaire. So I did both. Um, and I've just been, I for the last end of my time in Oxford, I went around England and talked about the book a little bit. And I just came back from about 2 weeks of talking about it in different American cities. Um, and I've had a really lovely time. I've had a particularly lovely time on tour meeting readers and talking about reading.
Okay. Okay. Um, according to, and then what else? By the way, um, Le Fleur du Mal by Charles Baudelaire affected your entire world, giving life to the orphan children. Can you describe Charles Baudelaire in one word?
In one word, um, uh, lonely. I think he was very lonely, but I think he enjoyed being lonely. I think he liked to create a situation where he was lonely and to think about that. And I think that's why I responded to him so strongly when I was an adolescent, in particular, is because it was so much fun being lonely.
Okay, lonely. As a reader of a series of unfortunate events, I can say the movie is a little too funny compared to the gloomy in a box, despite the incredible photography and outfits. And after reading, and then what else? I figure out they filmed it wrong. So, which do you prefer, the movie or TV series by Netflix? It's a hard question.
It is hard because I worked on both of them, and so I don't see it as an audience. I only see it as someone who worked on things. but I'm always more interested to learn what other people liked. So I meet people who love the movie and think the TV show is too much, and I meet people who love the TV show. I meet people who watch the movie every year with their family, and I meet people who have seen the show over and over again. And so that's more interesting to me because we didn't make it for me, we made it for people. And so I'm interested in what people think.
Okay. By the way, I love the TV series because I think they can exactly show what we felt on the bus, you know, because the movie was so uh, funny and you know,
Yeah.
very.
Well, they're very different actors. And one thing I think that was very magical about the TV show was that Neil Patrick Harris, of course, he became famous when he was really, really young. And so he was very careful and very thoughtful with the actors who were young on the set. And that can be challenging because sometimes, I mean, sometimes really, really ghastly things have happened to actors on the set. I don't think that was a danger of a Netflix show at all. But you know, there's 100 people running around doing things. They're adults. They're all at work. They're just not thinking about the young people as young people. They're thinking about that was part of a cast. And so it was really nice to see Neil be very thoughtful about that and be careful with them. And I think that as a result, I think those young people had a really good time. They felt really safe. They were able to be imaginative and interesting. And I think that was pretty magical.
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris nailed it. He brought such a dark humor. I love it.
Yeah.
You always have a notebook with you. Is there a pile of notebooks at your house?
There is a drawer of notebooks at my house. I
Oh
will show
God.
it to you. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you can see it all. It's a lot. Um,
Wow.
so I'm almost done with this one that I'm using now, and then I'll choose which one I want to have next. But they're all small. I like them to fit in my pocket, and I don't like a fancy notebook. Sometimes people give me a notebook that has a leather cover or something. It's too fancy for me. I want something that just feels like a little thing to do. So yeah, I have more notebooks. I'll probably die, and then there'll be leftover notebooks that they can give to. I don't know who they'll give to. Mourners. Mourners at my funeral can have a free notebook.
By by the way, I love when I read and then what else? And you said that you put some music and you write in your notebooks. And
Yeah, I grew up with a very serious classical music education, and um, and so music has always been a part of my life, and it's kind of the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning. When I don't want to get out of bed, I say, just think about what will you listen to? What's a good thing you'll listen to this morning? You know, and I'll say Duke Ellington or New Order or something, and that will get me out of bed. So music is always important to me, and I take it with me a lot of times when I go and work someplace. And I love to cook and listen to music. I love to read and listen to music. It's big for me.
yeah, you're a musician also. You
A
collaborated
little
with
bit. Yeah.
the magnetic fields. By the way, I was listening Gothic orchestra the entire
Oh
day
yeah.
to get in the mood.
Well, I mean, a wonderful thing about working with Stephen Merritt is just to be near him when he is working, because I think you can learn so much from anybody who's doing anything well. Even if it's not what you're doing, you can just learn from someone who's doing something really well. And whenever I work with Stephen, he'll send me uh, a little demo, and every time I'll think, I don't know if this is going to work as a song. And then I spend a few hours with him, and he's in the studio, and I'll do a little bit, but I'll also just watch and listen to him do all these things. And before we know it, it's really beautiful. And I think that's what I like best. I like playing the music, but I also just like being near someone who's doing something really well.
Okay, thank you. The cover art for and then what else is simple, but at the same time incredible. Who had the idea behind the items and colors in it?
The publisher did. Yeah, we talked about it for a long time. It was hard to think about what it would be like. The British cover has a photograph of me on the cover with my hands on my
Oh,
face. I don't know if we want that, but yeah, I was excited about this. It was good. And I like another advantage to being married to Lisa Brown is that she can help me if we say, oh, we want to change the cover a little bit. She's good at articulating what that is and helping me find
I
it and
know
say,
it.
yeah.
Speaking of face expressions, I love when people take pictures with you and you are like,
Yeah. I don't know what to do. If someone says, oh, we need a picture of you, we need a picture of you, I don't like it. And it's funny because I know I'll never see the picture. Usually it'll just be, maybe it's online somewhere, but mostly just people have them. But yeah, so I just started frowning or I don't know what, just to make myself feel better.
I really love when I see people tagging you in the pictures I see. It's fun. I suppose you must hear a lot of aspiring writers to ask, what's the secret of good writing and success? By the way, I wrote 2 books and the writing style is totally inspired by you. But what would you tell a beginner writer? What would you tell a people that is beginning to write?
I just think I think you just have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. You have to read your favorite things over and over again and try to figure out how they work, whatever your favorite things are. And then you have to write a lot. It's like anything else that needs practice. So when you're beginning, you're going to write thousands of horrible pages. So you might as well get them all done as quickly as possible. So yeah, I think you just have to write a whole lot. I wrote about 9 pages today. They're terrible. So you just have to keep on doing them and figuring out if they're okay.
Thanks. Well, a friend of mine, also named Daniel, is with us and wants to tell something. I will
Okay.
translate. He gonna pass me in Portuguese and then we'll translate later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
First of all, thank you. You are my inspiration to write, and I love you, man. I love you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I have a giant collection of you.
Yeah, a huge collection.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
It's of
I want to see
you,
all of your
man.
books. I'm trying to go like this to make it bigger. I want to see all of the
Ele
titles.
tá pedindo para você mostrar para the Beatrice Letters and the box of a series of
Oh my goodness. No, I don't want to see my books. I want to see the other books. What are the other books?
But I have a friend.
Você quer passar em português algumas perguntas? Se
Pode
você
ser,
quiser.
pode ser. Qualquer coisa, eu acho que vou começar a chorar aqui, cara. I'm gonna cry, sorry. Sad dream. I'm for a poor family here in Rio Grande do Sul, in Brazil. My parents are so... Peraí que eu...
We're passing a bad time here in Brazil because in the south of Brazil is having a flood, like too much water.
Yeah.
And he's from south, but he's safe. He's
I'm glad you're safe.
Eu vou falar em português que eu vou começar a chorar aqui.
Now I'm gonna translate for you.
Eu venho de uma família muito pobre, cara, aqui no Brasil. E os meus pais vieram para essa cidade com uma mala de roupa e eles nunca conseguiram comprar um livro para mim.
He's from a poor family, and they couldn't buy a clothes, and now. Okay.
Eu nunca eles nunca conseguiram me comprar um livro. Eu sempre quis ler, eles nunca conseguiram me comprar um livro.
They couldn't get a book for him.
E eu conheci o Lemon Snicket, o Daniel Handler, através de um amigo meu, que era veranista aqui na cidade.
And he knew Lemon Snicket by a friend.
E ele me narrava as histórias de todos os livros e eu ficava vidrado naquilo.
He used to count by speaking the narrative of a series of fortunate events for him.
E então eu comecei a escrever minhas próprias histórias para ele ler, sabe? Me inspirava muito no que ele me contava.
So he started to write his own stories based in your writing style.
E aí eu comecei a trabalhar, assim, desde os 6 anos eu trabalho. E eu sempre, todo o meu patrimônio, sempre, como vocês podem ver, são livros, né?
He started to work at age of 6, and all the things that he has, he gained it by working on writing and spreading literature culture.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me that. That is a beautiful story.
E, enfim, eu comecei a... Depois que eu li Desventuras em Série, eu fiquei muito fissurado mesmo na escrita do Daniel Handler. Então ele passou a se tornar a minha maior inspiração, né?
After he reading a series of fortunate events, it became like a huge influence to write his own stories.
E a gente tem uma história engraçada junto. Uma amiga minha, a Ana, ela me comprou um livro autografado por ele.
Oh gosh. Her friend Anna bought him a book autographed by you.
E aí ela mandou no Booksmith, né, que ela comprou. Ela falou, pô, ele é escritor, o nome dele começa com... É Daniel também, começa com H, o sobrenome. Pô, pode escrever aí, to my fellow writer, não sei o quê. And this man...
Her friend bought his book by Booksmith, and she said, "Oh, you can write. His name is also Daniel. You can write also Daniel to him."
Wonderful.
To Daniel, a complete stranger. I love, man.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Sure.
Yeah.
Tem mais alguma coisa para falar, amigo?
Tenho várias, cara. Inclusive,
A gente também não pode se estender tanto assim.
Eu vou lançar um livro pela Guarabooks, a editora do Pablo, que tem muitos elementos de Desventuras em Série. Aí eu gostaria de presentear ele, dar alguma maneira de enviar um até ele.
Okay. Now he has a book on pre-sale, Daniel.
Oh.
And its book is totally inspired by you. And we will try to ship to you to have,
yes, please.
Have a copy.
Oh.
It's a horror juvenile, like this is a fortunate event. Great illustrations, great pictures.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm excited.
E eu gostaria de comprar o novo livro dele e que agora ele autografasse da maneira correta, né? Que eu vou comprar pelo Booksmith também.
He'd like to have your book and then what else? And he will buy by Booksmith. Now he wants you to autograph, but in the properly manner, like Daniel held it urban.
Yes, I will. I'm sorry.
E a última pergunta que eu tenho a fazer
The last question
é sobre os 3 incidentes suspeitos.
He has a question for 13 suspicious incidents.
Aí, gostaria de saber se
He would like to know.
the last word is Mr. Snicket.
I'm not giving away.
Oh, you're not
secret,
going
but
to
a large
tell
camera. I can't be trusted.
Okay. Oh, so by the way, curiosity, his books, it's called Katarina, and he's going to release it in my publishing house called Guara Books. I just opened it.
Wonderful.
It's like fresh. And do I have your bless?
I can't wait. Yes, of course. I want to see it. I'm excited.
We'll try to ship to you. Okay.
Yes, please. Wonderful.
Okay. So before. Okay. By the way, I want to thank you because I met Daniel because of you. He was one of the followers of Desventuras in Série Brazil, my community of fans dedicated to a series of Fortnite events that you once recognized it on Facebook. Thank you so much. By the way, thank you if you're listening to it.
I'm sure she's not listening now, but she will be.
Oh, okay. Well, finish up. Tell us what you find, and then what else, and for your Brazilian fans.
In the book, it is just my thing and through reading, and so literature. If you're a fellow obsessed, then maybe it will be interesting to you. There's some things not talked about really with now, so there's that there. But Brazilian fans, I would say, I just hope to get to Brazil. I feel bad that I've not been there. Wonderful correspondence from you. Sometime because I would rather tell you individual messages in person than a large message to everyone. So I hope I see you guys.
I have a lot of dreams about it.
Me too.
When we met in personally. And I have more 2 books.
Daniel, Mr. Daniel Handler, I appreciate your participation. Please don't forget to send my hug. And if you allow me, a kiss to my dear friend Lisa Brown. Thank you so much.
Of course.